Hi, and welcome back to Brief Recaps. A infamous motorcyclist and professional carnival stuntman Johnny Blaze made a deal with the devil, and from now on, he is permitted to becoming the devil's personal bounty hunter, hunting down lost souls who have escaped hell for the devil. However, when Johnny found out about the evil contract, he ended up betraying the devil and keeps the hellfire powers given to him on Earth. Today, I'm going to recap and explain the movie called Ghost Rider, released in the year 2007. The story begins with a young guy named Johnny Blaze along with his father, Barton Blaze. They are both professional stuntmen who love to show off their incredible biker skills at the local carnival. Johnny performs a daring stunt while his father watches, and Johnny does most of his tricks to impress a beautiful girl named Roxanne, and who is to be Johnny's wife one day. After the carnival, Johnny and his father repair the bikes, and here we can see how Barton is quite pushy and has a bad attitude, and is very strict about seeing Johnny succeed in life, as Barton is currently ill and has stage 4 cancer. He warns Johnny about love, and that he should focus on the things that are important to him, like being a stuntman. But Johnny disagrees and thinks that his life is meant to be shared with Roxanne from now and forever. Johnny Blaze heads to a beautiful spot in an open field with his girlfriend, and here she explains to Johnny that her dad is making her leave and to go and live with her mother, so they won't be able to be with each other. She asks Johnny what they should do, and here Johnny explains that they should just leave this town right away, and Roxanne agrees, and they both plan to run away together this time tomorrow and to meet at this same spot at sunset. After getting back home, Johnny sees his dad passed out and drunk and reads a letter that's stating that his cancer has spread and the time he has left to live. After, Johnny leaves and has some time alone to reflect and decide whether leaving his poorly father all by himself or leave and drive off into the sunset with the love of his life. At this moment, a strange-looking man is seen approaching the carnival, and he enters the tent where Johnny Blaze is fixing his bike. He compliments Johnny on his performance and his skills, and asks Johnny if he will ride for him instead of doing the carnival shows, and Johnny takes a look at the man and denies the offer. The man then walks into the tent and tells Johnny that he knows about his father being sick and that he can help him, but only if Johnny will be one of his riders, and asks Johnny if he's willing to make a deal. Johnny asks what will be the price for healing his father, and the mysterious man tells him that all he wants in return is his soul, and that tomorrow his dad will be healthier than ever, but the only way to confirm the deal is to sign the contract in blood. Johnny seems confused and thinks he's just playing some kind of joke on him and rubs it off as a prank, but ultimately accepts it at the same time, as he really doesn't have any other better choice in mind to help his dad. After signing the papers, Johnny suddenly wakes up and thinks that what just happened was only in his dreams, but as he awakes, his father Barton is more lively than ever and seems to be as healthy as he was years ago, and is ecstatic about the carnival performance for tonight, and tells Johnny that he feels amazing and that his scan today showed that his body was healed. His father wants Johnny to join him on this performance, but for the first time ever, Johnny denies doing stunts and said that all he wants to do is be with Roxanne, and he leaves, while his father tells him he can take his bike with him and to keep it safe. While Johnny leaves the carnival, he leaves with the biggest smile, and at the same time his dad is performing a great stunt, but as he performs it, the biker randomly swerves out of control and he gets put to the floor. Johnny hears the screams and rushes inside to see his father slowly dying, and while Johnny looks around, he saw the devil standing in the doorway, and Johnny knows he must have something to do with this. An angry Johnny tries driving away and get down the highway, and here he sees the devil standing in his way again, and this time he tells Johnny that even though he cured his father's cancer, he cannot let him live, as he will only get in the way of the deal they made. But the devil still kept his original promise, which was to cure his father's cancer, even if it was only for a few hours, and this makes Johnny super mad as he tries to swing at the old geezer, but he tells Johnny not to bother. He tells Johnny Blaze that one day he will come to him when the time is right, but until that day, his soul belongs to him now, and nothing will ever change that fact. So he tells him to stop whining about it and to do what he says from now to make his life easier. So Johnny just accepts it, and as a result, the devil brainwashes him to make him forget about friends, family, and loved ones, and tells him they don't matter anymore. After that, Johnny visits the spot under the tree, as he promised Roxanne he will be here, and together they will run away together. But instead, because of the devil's curse, he avoids her and simply drives off like he didn't even know her. After the movie takes us around 21 years later, and Johnny Cash has grown up, and here we see him at a huge carnival, performing a really insane stunt, flying over trucks and has the distance of a football field. He performs the stunt. However, the stunt goes wrong and Johnny Blaze falls to the ground with a horrific blow to the neck, and this shocks everyone as he should be dead. However, Johnny gets up like nothing happened and is pretty much fine. Later on, Johnny and his team talk on the tour bus, and one of his friends said that he should have been taking a dirt nap after that fall, and tells Johnny that he must have some kind of angel looking after him. However, Johnny whispers to himself, saying it's not an angel and that it must be something else. Looking outside of the window and fireballs begin falling down like rain, and we meet a mysterious man called Black Heart. He approaches the bar owned by a famous biker gang called the Hell Angels, and the biker tells Black Heart that he's not welcome inside the bar, and that's when Black Heart uses some kind of ice powers to freeze them all to death by a single touch. After Black Heart's presence in the room wakes up the lost souls on Earth who have been hiding out, and they ask Black Heart why he's bothering them, and that's when he demands the ghost to tell him where the contract of San Venganza is, and to help him find it. The contract holds incredible power of 1,000 evil souls, and Black Heart wants to use it to take over the world. After, the devil calls out to Black Heart and tells him to stop whatever he's doing, and his plans to destroy Earth as time will come soon. But for now, he wants this job left to another person called the Ghost Rider. However, Black Heart refuses his order and begins to explain how, unlike everybody else, the devil cannot hurt Black Heart while on Earth, and also asks the devil why he gave the power of hellfire to a random human and not one of his own, and that such power is wasted on a human. But the devil tells him that even though he doesn't have the power to control him here in this world, on the other hand, his rider does, and will gain unbelievable power once he's summoned. After that, we see Johnny Blaze attempting a brand new stunt, where he will be attempting to cross a football field with helicopters underneath him, which shocks his friend. Before he performs the stunt, Johnny is told to do an interview, but the interviewers happens to be his long-lost girlfriend from 21 years ago, Roxanne, which shocks the life out of Johnny as he thought he would never see her again. During the interview, Johnny can't even think straight and can't answer the questions and realizes that he's still in love with Roxanne. After the interview, Johnny prepares for the stunt, and during the preparation he is told exactly how much nitrous is inside the bike. He asks his friend where Roxanne would be, and he estimates that she will be near the freeway by now, and that's when Johnny completes and lands the impossible stunt like a boss and races off immediately to find Roxanne. When he catches up to her, she's still upset about him leaving the way he did, but Johnny begs her for forgiveness and asks her back out on a date for tonight, and she agrees. After, Johnny gets ready for the date and has dressed up nice and sharp for the dinner, but as he stands in front of the mirror, his hands randomly start to heat up and smoke like fire, and as he turns around he notices that the bike his father gave to him has gone missing, and so Johnny steps outside and notices his bike outside in the alleyway. There he meets the devil again, and he tells Johnny he's been watching over him ever since they made the contract, and he signed a deal to which he has now come to collect his debt, and if Johnny succeeds, he will give his soul back. However, Johnny tells the old man to go away and to leave him alone, but the devil told him that that's not how this works, and when Johnny gets on the bike he's stuck onto it and can't release his hands or legs off the steering bars or the pedals. That's when the devil stomps down his magical stick, and this forces Johnny to turn into the Ghost Rider, and from here, the devil gives Johnny his target and tells Johnny to find and take care of a man called Black Heart. At this moment, Johnny loses control of himself and the motorbike, and he starts to drive off down the street at supersonic speed, creating a fire streak behind him until he finds Mr. Blackheart. Over at a railway station, Blackheart finds the old cemetery, but has been replaced with a train station, and this is when Ghost Rider arrives at the station, and Johnny starts to transform fully as the Ghost Rider, taking the form of a fiery, skull-faced figure, and he squares up to Blackheart. Ghost Rider orders Blackheart to return to Hell, as he doesn't belong here on Earth, but Blackheart refuses him and proceeds to challenge him. Here, Blackheart's demons come out and start to fight Ghost Rider, and he gets caught wrapped up in chains, but Ghost Rider takes the chains from the warehouse and uses them to combat the other demons. Eventually, they trap Ghost Rider, and they all think he's been dealt with and start to leave the railway. But this is when Ghost Rider sneaks behind the demon and uses the chains to fight the lost souls and erases him from the world. After Blackheart and his subordinates run away, and Ghost Rider's bike turns into the real deal, transforming into a fire-burning hell type of bike with a super cool design, and he races off. Along the way, he spots a thief trying to take a woman's purse, and he immediately stops to help her from the thug. Ghost Rider saves the woman and proceeds to tell the man that he's guilty of taking advantage of the innocent and he will be doomed. And Ghost Rider does something called the penance stare, which can turn all the evil he's ever done against him, and it petrifies the man and kills him. After, Johnny races the bike to the nearby cemetery and visits his father's grave, and this is where we meet a man called the Caretaker, and he tells Johnny that everything that happened last night was real, and that he's now become the next Ghost Rider. Johnny stops and asks who he is, since the Caretaker seems to know quite a lot about the devil's affairs and the Ghost Riders that were here before Johnny. He takes Johnny inside, and here he proceeds to heal Johnny's cuts from last night, and also explains exactly why the Ghost Rider needs to exist and what he needs to do as the Ghost Rider. The Caretaker tells Johnny that the Ghost Rider will only come out at night, and that the Ghost Rider is basically a bounty hunter for the devil, who will need to eliminate or return the lost souls who have escaped from hell. He asked the Caretaker if there was other Ghost Riders, and he explains how the last one was around 150 years ago and was from a town called San Venganza. Johnny asks why the devil sent him after Blackheart, and the Caretaker seems surprised about it as well, and told Johnny that Blackheart and the others known as the Hidden are actually fallen angels cast out of heaven by Saint Michael. Johnny thanks the Caretaker for the information and leaves. After leaving, he returns back to his hometown, and there he sees the destruction made by his flames from the chopper motorcycle, and what the Ghost Rider does to the streets and towns he visits during their night. Here we see Roxanne, who is doing an interview on the recent events, and we see the same girl Ghost Rider saved from the thief, and here she explains to Roxanne what he looks like and everything that happened, but they think she's just a crazy woman and doesn't believe a word she's saying. While on the scene, the officers and workers try repairing the road, and while investigating on what might have caused this, they find Johnny's license plate on the ground. Later on, Johnny starts reading old text and history books of demons and possessing souls, and here he finds out about the fire demon created by the devil that is inside every man. But there is a way to gain control over it. Here starts to read the pages and follows along, and here he speaks to his own soul, and after he starts to gain some control of the cure that's been put on him. While learning how to gain control, his ex-girlfriend Roxanne enters his home and tries to understand why Johnny always turns her turn and never wants to truly be with her. And after much back and forth between the two, he finally tells her the real reason, and that he sold his soul to the devil, and that he's a bounty hunter, so that's why they could never be together. He tells her that he will turn into the demon only at night, so it's best for her to leave. After she told him that whatever he's saying is not clever or funny, and that the excuse is just a story and that Johnny should think about getting into a mental hospital. After Roxanne leaves saying her final goodbyes, and after a bunch of cops arrive to his home and demand Johnny Blaze to come with them as his license plate and tire tracks were at the crime scene last night, and they found corpses and what some kind of explanation from the superstar stuntman himself. While at the police station, Johnny is interrogated by the detectives, who begin showing him pictures of the scene and ask him what exactly is going on. They also tell Johnny that they have witnesses, and the witnesses say that a tall guy in a black leather jacket was riding a chopper, but had some kind of fire effect coming from the rear end of the vehicle, and the cop points out that the effects used look just like the ones from his carnival stunt shows, and that there's no coincidences that it matches up to Johnny's description, along with the license plate at the scene. After Johnny realizes he cannot tell the officers about Ghost Rider, otherwise it will probably cause him more trouble, so he denies everything, until they eventually drag him into a cell with some other criminals. These other convicts seem to have a problem with Johnny, and after identifying that it is truly the stuntman from television, they get mad, saying that they lost bets against him and lost their money due to him failing to hit the stunt many times. After, Johnny apologizes to all the other men in the jail, but they begin to fight, and after putting him to the ground, he erupts into flames and turns into the Ghost Rider. After dealing with all the dumb criminals, he proceeds to upgrade his jacket, forming metal spikes all around it, and breaks out of the police station. After breaking out, Ghost Rider calls for his bike and starts heading to the destination of Blackheart again, as ordered by the devil to complete the contract. Somewhere else in a church, Blackheart finally found the priest in charge of looking after the San Venganza contract, holding the 1,000 demons inside it, and demands him to hand it over. However, the priest refuses, and this is when Blackheart uses his ability and awakens the other fallen angels. Meanwhile, Ghost Rider has started a full-on manhunt, and the whole Poils force in the city chase him down by Ari, unable to do so, as Ghost Rider is now the famous Johnny Blaze, making him an incredible stuntman while also being in the job and bounty hunting for the devil. They get him cornered on the bridge, but Ghost Rider lands inside the water, and we learn that the bike can also ride along the ocean. After some time, Blackheart orders the demons to go after the Ghost Rider before he gets to the church, and they manage to push him off his bike, and the cops almost get him at the dead end. But Ghost Rider starts driving up the wall of the building and shocks the police unit. And this is also being seen by Roxanne as she's staying in one of these buildings close by. At the top of the building, we see Blackheart's subordinate named Abigor or taunts Ghost Rider, explaining how they will always be here as you cannot kill ghosts that are part of the wind. And this is when Ghost Rider uses his chains and burns them up in flames. NMB creates a whirlwind effect to create flaming particles in the sky to eliminate Abigor. Right after, Johnny is Gase with many police officers below, and Roxanne, who gets to witness the Ghost Rider for herself, and she calls the Ghost Rider Johnny. But while the demon remembers who she is, he calms down, but suddenly all the officers open fire, and this is when Johnny uses a crazy fire breath ability and easily wipes them out before leaving the scene. In the morning, Johnny turns back into his normal self and meets with the caretaker at the graveyard again. And here Johnny wants to know why the caretaker is after him and what the contract is, and the caretaker takes him to the gravestone of the last Ghost Rider, named Carter Slade. He was once a Texas Ranger and a man of honor, but Carter got greedy and found himself locked up waiting on the gallows. That's when a stranger came to see him and made him a deal, offering him his freedom, and in return he has to become the Ghost Rider, and he accepted. Johnny asks what Slade has to do with Blackheart, and this is when the caretaker explains how Slade was sent to San Vaganza to collect all the lost souls from hell, but instead, what he found there was so evil that he took the contract but just rode off with it and stole it. He was since then buried along with the contract, and this is what Blackheart wants to use for his own benefit and turn this world into hell. The caretaker warns Johnny that Blackheart will do anything to get his hands on it, and tells Johnny to make sure Blackheart doesn't know his loved ones or family as they will be in danger, and Johnny thinks of Roxanne and leaves the graveyard to make sure she's safe. Meanwhile, Roxanne is at Johnny's house, and there she meets Witch, a guy called Mac, Johnny's best friend, who tells her that Johnny's been out all day and that he doesn't know when he'll be back. When night arrives, Blackheart visits the graveyard and asks the caretaker where the contract is, but while threatening the caretaker explains how he's not the threat and that Blackheart should be going after the Ghost Rider, as he's the only one who can stop him. And so Blackheart remembers Roxanne and decides to go after her. After we see Johnny trying to find Roxanne, and he visits the news station where she works, but the guy told her she left an hour ago to go and find Johnny. So he quickly rushes home before Blackheart gets there first. But unfortunately, Blackheart was already there, and he kills his best friend Mac, and puts Roxanne in a frozen state with his ice powers, making her freeze in place. He quickly transforms into Ghost Rider and fights with Black here. He tries using the penance stare against him, but it doesn't work because Blackheart is soulless, and after he tells Johnny that the only way to save his girlfriend is to bring him the contract, and that tonight will be the only night, otherwise he will never see Roxanne ever again. After hearing this, Johnny heads down to the cemetery to meet with the caretaker again, and this time he begs the caretaker to help him save the love of his life, Roxanne, and asks him if he knows where the contract is. And right then, the caretaker takes it out of the hiding place and gives it to Johnny, as he believes Johnny is the best Ghost Rider there has ever been, as Johnny sold his soul out of love and not his own desires, which makes him a trustworthy person and someone who will always do the right thing. After the caretaker tells Johnny he will take him to San Vangarza, which is a 500-mile ride, and just then the caretaker gets onto his horse and transforms into the Ghost Rider and reveals that he is in fact Carter Slade, and the one who ran off with the contract. After Johnny and Carter start riding and eventually end up at San Vangarza, here Carter Slade departs from Johnny and tells him that his ride ends here, as this is the last destination he had as the previous Ghost Rider, and tells Johnny to watch out and stay hidden between the shadows. After, Johnny rides towards the fallen city, and Blackheart warns his subordinate to slow him down, so it reaches dawn, and the sun rises, so Ghost Rider will lose all his powers. Here, one of his demons pulls Johnny down into the water, so he can't use his flaming powers, But it turns out that not even water can remove the strength of his powers and kills the demon underwater. After dealing with the demon, Johnny continues to ride along, hearing the souls of the demons screaming within, side the doors of the San Vangarza town, and can sense the horrors of what must have happened here. After, he finds Roxanne and Blackheart, who has been holding her here waiting for Johnny's arrival. He demands Johnny to hand cover the contract, otherwise she dies. Johnny then hands him the contract to let her go, but then he quickly switches to challenge Blackheart, and they end up fighting once again. But this time Blackheart manages to overpower Johnny, and he tries to fight back. However, then sun rises, and Johnny loses the ability to use Ghost Rider, and then Blackheart throws him to the ground, and right after he releases all the 1,000 souls from the contract, and here we see all the souls flying out, and they all enter the body of Blackheart, turning him into an even more powerful and vicious demon with red eyes and many teeth, calling himself Legion. After, Ghost Rider gets back up and tries to finish of Blackheart by using the shotgun given by Carter Slade. However, this is no use against him, as he just regenerates all his body parts from the other souls and is now even stronger than before. After beating Johnny, he grabs him and nearly ends up killing, but just before Roxanne picks up the gun and fires, getting a headshot, saving Johnny. And after this, Blackheart starts to regenerate again and smirks at Johnny, taunts him. And this is when Johnny remembers he can turn any item into the Ghost Rider's personal weapon, and he uses the shotgun again, but in the form of Ghost Rider's effect on it. And this completely disintegrates Blackheart, and the souls try to rebuild and form once again. But Johnny now sees that the souls are just people as well, and if these souls are all stored inside of Blackheart's body, then he can now use the penance stare, and upon using the stare, it finally works this time, and he destroys the contract, along with the 1,000 souls stored inside his body. After beating Blackheart, Roxanne finally sees Johnny in his Ghost Rider form and tells him that she's not afraid of it, and that she only sees Johnny. Right then, the stranger appears, otherwise known as the Devil, and tells Johnny that he's completed his mission and that he will now need him to give back the Rider Hellfire power, and he can have his old life back and be normal. But Johnny declines it, and after tells the Devil he will use the power for fighting evil, and he will also use the power against the Devil if he tries fighting him, and then the Devil gets angry and disappears. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you never miss a future video. And until next time guys, take care.